Hello everybody, it's Sound Author again, and today I just want to show you some effect racks that I've made for Ableton 10 using the new Echo effect. That, in my personal opinion, is the very best thing, the best new thing in Ableton 10. I just really love the sound of it. I think they did a really good job on the analog modeling, and I decided to make some multi-tap style faux reverbs. It behaves like a reverb, but it's really just a big handful of delays. And as you can see here, I've got one that is only using 8 delay lines, which is 4 instances of echo. And similarly, 16 delay lines, 32 delay lines, and 64 delay lines. So there's 4 versions of this, as you can see here. So I like each of them. They all kind of, because there's a different amount of delay lines, they all kind of have their own character. But all of them have one similarity. When the delay time is turned all the way down, the earliest reflection will be 10 milliseconds. And with the delay time turned all the way up, the earliest reflection will be at 20 milliseconds. And I just did this because I was calculating the reverbs very specifically. This isn't actually, it gets a lot more complicated than that. This is just my calculations for times 8. So as you can imagine what times 64 would look like. But these delay times have been spaced apart in a very meticulous way. I like to make reverb algorithms, and when I do make reverb algorithms, I have a very kind of surgical way of calculating them this kind of way. So I did it that way because when you turn the all the way down, all of these delay lines are spaced apart evenly, and they're very close to each other. They're very close together. Okay. So as you can see, they're all very close. And of course, obviously, when you turn the delay time up, they get further and further away from each other. Okay. So there's only 8 delay lines here, just to give you a visual idea of what that looks like. For this one, there's 64 delay lines, so there's 32 instances of delay since they have one for the left and one for the right. And I'm not going to show you the echo tab for all of these. It would take forever to click. But as you can see, the modulation also works in an interesting way too. The modulation gets slower and slower as the amount of the modulation becomes stronger and stronger for each delay. And as you also have noticed that the phasing between the modulation waveforms also moves further and further away from each other. So that also looks very nice. So I'm just going to close that down because that's unnecessary. So without further ado, now that I've explained what's going on, I will go ahead and close these, and I will just let you hear, put my headphones on, and let you hear what this sounds like. I've got a guitar in my lap, and I'll just go ahead and shut up and let you hear these things. Okay, so with a lot of feedback, it actually kind of starts to sound like a plate, especially when you turn that filter down. You can actually turn the feedback all the way up if you control the filter. And That's not what I made this for, but it was kind of a neat surprise. The okay, and as you turn it up, it starts to get interesting. Okay. All right. Okay, and it all the way up sounds like. So the idea to this is I'm an ambient kind of guy. Most people who know me know that most of the sound packs that I make and stuff is all a bunch of pads and atmospheres and all that stuff. So what I really like about this technique, instead of using a reverb, is the way that it kind of it's not dense. It's very open because it's literally just a handful of delay lines. It's not as complex as a reverb, so it has more of an open, echoey, obviously, kind of sound. So it's great for guitar pads or anything, or any kind of anything with a slow attack. It's going to create a huge wall of sound, especially when we get up to these ones that have like 64 delay lines. This is what swells would sound like with a lot of, I'm just going to turn it all the way up, with lots of that, with a lot of feedback. At 100%, you can actually create these amazing atmospheres and these amazing beds of sound that just roll out forever. So I'm just going to play with that. Oh, my volume not. Okay. Okay, so it just kind of goes on forever. I'm just gonna. Okay, so let's get back on track here. So let's see. I've got some ducking here. By default, it's just at negative 12 dB. I find that's a nice place, but when you turn it up to 0, it just switches it off. The mod depth is another thing that I had to tweak several times because I wanted it to do a very specific kind of thing when you turned it up. I wanted it to get delightfully creepy, because when you do that, let's turn this down. I left repitch on so you can do weird stuff like that. Okay, but I think I'll just cruise through. I'll just cruise through the other ones. And before I do that, I'll default everything here. All right, so I'm just gonna give you a little taste of what the difference between all of them, what they all kind of sound like. I think I'll do it with an impulse, or I'll just. Okay, that's 8. This is 16. Obviously, it's getting bigger and denser. 32. Okay, and 64. Okay, so you can obviously tell that it starts to get nice. Actually, really like this 16. I think it sounds really good on guitar. Okay. My volume knob is crackling. I need to do that thing that you got to do. Not in this video. So anyways, and of course, the wonderful times 64 was not easy to program. As you can see, the map took a while. Okay. Very nice, right? So I use these instead of reverb quite often. I prefer the result. It's wider, it's open. As you notice, you've got a width control here. Okay, sometimes you don't want any ducking. And don't forget, you can automate these, okay? You can automate the delay time. I do a thing with a sustain pedal where I adjust these where I want them, and when I hit the sustain pedal, it turns the feedback all the way up, and it opens the filters all the way up, so everything's getting through. And when I release the sustain pedal, the filters go back to where they were, and the feedback goes back to wherever it was. I had a setup like that, and it was the perfect freeze button. I would play something I like, and I just smash that sustain pedal down. There you go. I even have a picture of it somewhere. I can't remember where, of the settings. Sorry this has been such a sloppy walkthrough. I'm not good at these walkthroughs. I'm just good at making this stuff, you know. But these are available on Gumroad for free, or you can give me $1 or something if you feel like being awesome. That's cool too. So I hope you enjoy these. I hope you have a lot of fun with them. I have had a lot of fun with them, and I hope you do too. Bye.